Okay. We are live. Okay. We're having fun. We're having fun. And we are chatting. I just wanted to pop on, and by pop on, I mean this is probably going to be one of the longer chats we have today. This is something I see a lot. It's understandably a discussion I see quite a lot. And I am on a side of it that I feel, it's hard to explain. I am against trigger warnings, but I am on the same side as those who want trigger warnings. I just think that them specifically, that is not the way to go. I think it does do more harm than good. But it really feels like there's no leeway in this conversation. I feel like it's one of those things where it's because it addresses something, because it addresses a situation, people view it as the only possible. People view it because it addresses the situation, it addresses the topic. It has to be good, it has to be the right thing to do, but I just think there is another option that is less harmful. And the reason why I think trigger warnings are harmful is because they stereotype what type of content is triggering. And frankly, this is more of something that is done, I feel, for people that do not have a super in-depth, maybe, I feel like this placates to the people that think, yes, depression, trauma, PTSD, what my health textbook said, that is exactly it, and that's the only way that mental health exists. Which is just not true. For instance, a lot of times people will say the person that ended up committing suicide, that was someone that they never would have guessed would be feeling that way. Because mental health does not exist in the one form. It does not exist. It does not look the same way on everyone. And it's also, I know I grew up, as well as a lot of people I knew so many depressed kids that, it's relatively easy to hide because for the most part no one's looking anyway. And there's that, and there's also just the stereotype of depressed people. They always have the lights off, they're always wearing black, they don't really do much, but for a lot of people, they do the things that they love because it is an escape, it is a distraction. I know I also was in 50,000 extracurriculars because it kept me away from home, which was not a great place for me to be. So again, depression exists in different ways, and I know people still don't get this because I was having people beta read my book, and someone gave me the note of, she doesn't seem depressed. Maybe have her, mope around a bit. Maybe have her just, sit and be sad somewhere. And, Dallas Ryder, for the most part, is a carbon copy of me and my mental health issues, because that's how I got through, especially some of the lowest points I've had was these books are, and being able to express myself through them. That was genuinely one of the reasons why I'm alive today. So, yeah, no, she's a depressed person. She is a great representation of a depressed person, for sure, but it may not be, like, she's for sure not what people expect, what people would expect. And it always kills me to hear that, to hear someone say, oh, you don't seem depressed, this person doesn't seem depressed. But at the same time, did Robin Williams, did anyone think that that was something that he was going through? No. Because depression and mental health issues exist in different forms. So, if in that case, and it's not even just depression, it's all mental health issues rear their heads in different ways. That's why it's such a struggle to get to deal with them, is because it's literally different for absolutely everyone, especially because not everyone develops their mental health. People don't develop their mental health issues the same way. We didn't all go through the same experiences, so we don't have the same things that put us in the places that we are. And because if mental health issues do not look the same way, if they do not exist in us the same way, if they don't react in us the same way, then why would everyone in the world be triggered by the same things, be triggered in the same way? So again, with trigger warnings, it is saying, like, here's the list of things that people can be triggered by. And we're going to put a stamp on them and say, hey, this is something that is triggered because this, if it's in the list, these are the only things people are triggered by. These are the only things we need to be aware of. These are the only things we need to acknowledge. But at the same time, you are discounting and shunning and discrediting, especially a lot of people that are just triggered by different things. I know there was someone, I didn't personally know them, they were horribly triggered by Christmas music. My triggers, frankly, you've literally, the number of times in school, it's very tragic. I've read books about mentally ill characters. Like, specifically, I remember reading The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and literally, as I'm reading it, God, finally, someone who gets it, someone I can actually relate to. And I felt great reading that book. I felt like I had someone I could finally connect with. And guess what? I talked to someone in my class that was reading the same book as I was. It was so amazing to see this character's slow descent into madness. Oh. That's not something that triggered me. That wasn't a triggering experience. It was frankly more of I felt better having that person, having that character that was going through things that I had gone through, feeling things that I had gone through, because it felt like I wasn't alone by having this character that had gone through that. And that's honestly part of the reason why I even publish my books, is because I used to post my poems from The Color Black. I used to post those on this website called missliterati.com, and people over there were telling me, like, this is stuff I can relate to. Finally, someone, like, knowing someone else has gone through these things, and like, finally someone putting into words the way that I feel, stuff like that. So again, it could easily be something that triggers someone else, but there are also people who look to that as a source of comfort, knowing that they're not alone. A thing that did trigger me was this book called Falling Into Place. It is a book of a girl. She's depressed. She attempts suicide. But that's not what triggered me. What triggered me is that the book decided we're going to make it like, she essentially kind of perpetuate the stereotype that you just need that, like, one suicide attempt and then you're good. And she did that, and though realistically, practically, absolutely everything that she had that was actually keeping her happy was gone. She broke so many bones, she couldn't do soccer or swim, which were the only two things that were really keeping her happy. Everything she had that she was holding on to was gone at that point. But no, it's fine. She's totally fine. She just needs to get it out of her system. That was more triggering for me, because my mental health struggles weren't that easy. They were complex, and again, it did feel like the happily ever after was not earned because nothing changed. And that was more of a triggering thing to see, was to see this happily ever after that didn't feel real. And that's generally what I struggle with more. What I used to be so triggered by was watching something with a happy family, a happily ever after. The reason why I left school was because there were so many assignments that were asking you to write about a time you and your family went and did something great. Write about, using in Spanish, use this chapter's worth of words to describe your family, but they're all words about love and support, and that's not what I had at all in my life. And so at first I was writing about book characters, thinking I was doing something sly, I was being sneaky, but then I just started to feel pathetic and I started to hate myself, and it was, going to school had become a constant reminder that something was wrong with my life, something was wrong with me, and I felt terrible. And it did get to a point where I knew if I stayed in school, I was going to end up killing myself. So I tried to drop out, and I explained this because I had to get a specific, I went to so many goddamn people because this school does not know who I was supposed to go to drop out. And so I finally get set up with a meeting with the counselor that I needed, and she tells me that it seems like I'm just going to get triggered by anything, so what's the point of dropping out? And that really registered as, so you're pretty much, like, you're doing one thing because you know if you stay in school, you'll end up killing yourself. But what's the point in doing the thing to prevent yourself from killing yourself now when you're realistically going to end up in the same position, nearly killing yourself later on by pretty much anything? And that is something that I get to carry with me for the rest of my goddamn life. Why? Because this teacher couldn't possibly understand that I had very strong triggers to these situations, that I, like, the concept of therapy is something that triggers me, and she couldn't comprehend that these one-all solutions didn't fit me. So, frankly, this woman, hold on, alarms. But frankly, this woman should not have been the person that I was talking to about this situation. She had no idea what the fuck she was saying. I started crying in her office, and she's like, yeah, it's because dropping out's a hard decision. No, it's because you're making me feel like I might as well kill myself. But thanks for trying. So I should not have been with her, but she goes on because she cannot comprehend this other facet and this other view or face of mental health struggles and triggers. She goes on to essentially tell me that there's nothing that I can do to make things better, which, you know, literally every time something goes wrong in my goddamn life, especially in jobs, that is something that comes back up in my head, and it's great. We love it. But realistically, the things that I've actually been triggered by in jobs have been, like, I think I deserve to be triggered by them. One was just, like, a toxic workplace that was super bros only get advances and raises, as well as them firing people for disability, them making jokes about people wanting to attempt suicide. I think I have a right to be triggered by that, one. Two, it was a workplace that was essentially run like a high school, but if the teachers were really, really devoted to making sure the students thought they were cool, so no one got disciplined. That atmosphere, plus a store that they decided they wanted to do and make a gallery store, so you can't buy anything, you can't return anything, you can only come and look at shirts. So no one was ever in there. So all day I was just, like, realigning t-shirts and realigning hangers that no one was touching. So that, plus the high school atmosphere, and I still didn't get triggered until a carbon copy of the guy that sexually assaulted me in high school walked into the store. That was the point where I got triggered. And again, I think I kind of deserved that. And then the most recent time, and the third time that I was triggered in the workplace, was I worked at a place where management was completely incompetent, and then a pandemic hit, and the management still decided to be incompetent, specifically general manager. And that, I think, is also a, like, fair place to be triggered, when your management refuses to, like, actually know how to do things and then actually do things. And there's a deadly pandemic running around. I think that's a fair place to be triggered. But I'm still in these situations where now I have this counselor's voice in my head telling me it's my fault, telling me I'll never be able to function in society. And I still don't know if that person is right or not. I still desperately feel like that's a possibility, and that's something that's looming over me for the rest of my life. Thanks, UH. Also, fuck UH. They made me jump through so many goddamn hoops so that way I could even talk to a therapist to get labeled as disabled by their disability unit. And then I talked to their disability unit. The day I talked to them, they said there was nothing they could do to help me, which that was fun. And after that, I spent another week or two, because no one in the school knew who I was supposed to talk to drop out. And then they were like, yeah, you missed the deadline to drop out and get your money back by a week, so you still owe us 10 grand. Fuck you, H. Just saying. Throwing that out there. So, to reiterate, the reason why I do not support trigger warnings is because they stereotype what can and cannot be triggering, which is easy. It's an easy thing to do. It's an easy way to say we have acknowledged mental health, but it doesn't mean it helps. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt a lot of people that are triggered by a happy family, because they know that's something that they'll never have, that they've never had. And when they think of why their family wasn't happy, they put that blame on themselves. You don't see people acknowledge that that can be a trigger. You don't see people acknowledge that being around a bunch of people can be triggering, because I know this connection isn't real at all. That's why there are a lot of mental health issues surrounding Instagram and stuff like that. It's not because every Instagram post is talking about abuse, suicide. It's not because that's the content they're seeing. A lot of it's because there's a lot of loneliness and a lot of self-pressure and a lot of, like, negative self-talk and negative self-reflection that can come from seeing other things that are perfect and that are happy and that are good. But we don't want to apply that to other facets of life when we are saying that a book or a video needs a trigger warning in this way. What I do think is necessary, what I do think is the proper solution, is to be very clear about what is going on in your book, in your movie, in your video titles, descriptions, stuff like that. Be very clear about what's going on. If I have a video that I recently did a video on WandaVision, mental health was in the title. I put, like, her world is falling apart in the thumbnail. We get that it's not going to be a happy video. We get what we're just trying to discuss. You can see on the screen right now the description of the first book in my series. Depression's in there. We don't know if he'll survive the betrayal. Stuff like that. Those things are in the description because those are the things that I will be talking about. But it also, I don't know if someone's going to be, like, mentally triggered by someone that's robbing a bank or something like that, but that's thrown in there. We don't know if crime is something that could be triggering, so we threw it and we let you know she's a criminal too. We're trying to be very clear about who's in the book, what's going on in the book, and what the book's about, so that way people can make their decisions based on me telling you what you're about to get into, as opposed to me assuming what is potentially triggering for you, while also discrediting and blocking out people that could be triggered by other things. I think that is very important. And something that I also see, which is weird for me to see, is that I'll see like YouTube videos, and the title of the video is gonna be like my mental health breakdown of the week, and the first couple sentences, I've been having a really hard week, I've been having like mental health breakdowns this way and that way, trigger warning, we're going to be talking about mental health. That's where it feels like, I kind of feel like I'm being talked down to just a tish bit. Granted, I know it's not out of any form of malice. I think it is people trying to abide by the whole trigger warning thing and trying to instill that in their lives and make sure that they're having that there. But if it's in the title and you were just giving me a summary of what we're going to be discussing, that's kind of the point where I'm like, yeah, I kind of get it. I think I know what's going to be in the video. I think I know what you're going to talk about. But that's the point, though. I want it to be in the video title. I want it to be like, here's the thing we're going to be talking about and going deeper dive into. I make it known, make it understandable, so that way the people can make that decision for themselves on whether or not the thing that they're about to start, the thing they're about to get into, is something that we think they could be triggering. For instance, I can even go into an example of when I have watched a show and it triggered me and I was fucking irritated. It was the show 5 Point on Facebook, of all fucking places. Why did I even bother with Facebook? But I saw an ad for it, and it was an ad for season 2, and it was someone burned down the school, but who? And I was like, I could get into that. I could get into that kind of show. I got into the show Elite. Fucking love that show. It felt like another version of that kind of thing. So I was interested. Start season 1, and there's one main character is starting to seem really depressed and really hopeless. And so I literally go through the show and read every description in the title. That was not what I was trying to say. I read every description of every single episode in this show. And none of them are really, all of them are really, really vague about these kids are just having a rough time senior year. So I keep watching the show. On-screen suicide. Yeah, I completely agree with people when you say, oh my god, on-screen suicide, plot twist, she's getting abused. That's not a good plot twist. That's not, if you cannot think of how to build a story around that without being the major twist, you're bad at your job. I'm sorry. I was and it was irritating, it was upsetting, because I literally went through every description of every episode to see if there was any indication that this was the route it was going to go down, and they distinctly want to make the on-screen suicide something that was a bit of a shock. I kind of got the indication that this might be something, but the titles, but I read the description to see if this is something I should be concerned about. I read through to the first couple episodes of the second season, and none of them were telling me that this guy kills himself. So I was like, okay, that's probably not what's gonna happen. We're fine. Everything's fine. Everything should totally be fine. And no, things were not fine, and it was upsetting, it was frustrating, and I definitely, Chunk, stop. Sorry, my cat's trying to harass the phone. And that was definitely not something I needed, but I don't think the person that wouldn't put any indication of that in the description, I don't think they're the type of person that would have abided by a trigger warning anyway. I also didn't see a trigger warning on the show, but I didn't need the trigger warning. I would have, if any indication in any of the descriptions of the episodes or in the description of the season, that would have been enough for me. That would have been enough for me. That would have been something for me to base my decision off of, just the same way as I frankly don't watch a lot of Disney movies. I haven't seen Frozen, I haven't seen Moana, because I can't, this is going to be really sad, I can't really relate to that feeling of hope that's in Disney movies. So I don't watch them. I haven't watched them, and I know from the commercials and from the seeing other people's theory videos and stuff like that, I know that that's kind of the gist of the movie. That's a big thing, is the feeling of hope and spirit in these characters. And you know what? I don't think that would be good for me. I don't think seeing that would be good for me. I don't think being around that would be good for me. I also, whether or not I have, a full, breakdown, or if I just, very rejecting to the movie, I don't know how I'll properly react. But I just know that's probably not gonna be it for me, so we're not gonna do it. And that's something that is very obvious in the movie. That's not something they're trying to hide in the movie. But it's there. It's there for me to say, hey, this is not going to be a good experience for me. This is not going to, jive well with me. I'm not going to watch this. So, in conclusion, just wrap everything up. I am on the same side as the people who think that, there needs to be some indication of what's going on in the story. So if there is someone who would be horribly, mentally hurt by the book, they need to know, they need to have some sort of warning. They need to have some sort of indication that that's what they're going to be getting into. I completely agree. I just think trigger warnings specifically are too based in the stereotypes of what can and cannot be triggering. I think the right move is to just be very open about what's in your content. And that's my stance on the whole thing. Now, frankly, I'm gonna upload this video, and I think for the most part, there's a good chance I will get mostly, if anyone sees this video, I think I'm realistically gonna get more comments from people who wouldn't take the time to even hear out any other opinion. Which, that's just the world we live in. Which is great. I'm not big enough as any form of creator for people to really take the time to listen to an outside opinion, to an outside experience, to an experience that doesn't fit in with their assumptions on what a person will be triggered by, what a person will experience when seeing certain types of content. And so realistically, I'm probably, if anyone sees this, it will probably be reacted to and met with hate, which we love. We love that so much, but I feel like I've seen so many content creators talk about how trigger warning should be a no-brainer. Trigger warning should be a non-option. And while I do 1000% agree, a lot of corporations are doing it out of laziness and out of apathy. I just don't think that trigger warnings are going to be able to, I think trigger warnings are going to exclude and help to to hurt a lot of people who do not fit into that assumption and that stereotype and that expectation of what mental health problems and reactions to traumas and stimulants, triggers to traumas look like. And that's the unfortunate thing, because for me, from what a lot of things I've seen, research, and even after school specials, is some of the people that are in the most danger are the people that do not conform to those stereotypes, because people don't know, people are looking for that caricature of mental health issues, and they don't give the state of mind, they don't give the attention, they don't give the time to the people that need just as much love and care and attention and help but don't match the face they're looking for. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. I thank you so much for watching or listening, really. I broke it. It's fine. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, valedictions, friends.